We have some news from Character Options, the company that makes Doctor Who toys and figures, and it is very exciting indeed, because today the Fugitive Doctor is at last joining the 5.5-inch figure range. So we knew there was some news coming from Character, I think originally scheduled for tomorrow, but somehow the news leaked, I think via Character's own website. I think they put this up a day early or something. The photos got out, the announcement has now come today instead, and oh my goodness, they have not disappointed this time. They have absolutely delivered. What a fantastic, genuine surprise. I never thought I'd see the day where the Fugitive Doctor joined the figure range. It's a figure that people have wanted to see for a very long time. I mean, to give some idea, it's 4 years ago this very week, since Fugitive of the June first aired. So, it's been 4 years in the making this, 4 years since we first saw Jo Martin and her Doctor, and fans have been saying basically ever since that moment, please can we have a figure, please, please, please. And I think Character have said time and time again that it wasn't that they didn't want to do a Jo Martin figure, it was just about finding the right moment and the right way to do it as well. Because, she is a Doctor, she's a proper incarnation of the Doctor. You want to do a character like that justice, and Character's budgets these days, aren't what they once were, so it's not always possible to do a lot of new sculpting. I think this figure basically is a completely new sculpt, or certainly mostly a new sculpt. Maybe there are some parts in there that have been reused from other figures, but it's certainly not possible to do kind of obvious parts reuse, as we've seen in the B&M range in recent years, where whole bodies have been repurposed, or things like that, arms, legs, whatever it may be, bodies with kind of different wraparound pieces on the front to make it look like a different body or look like a different costume. I don't know how, but somehow they have finally managed to make this work for Jo Martin's Doctor. Yes, it's later than we might have wanted it to be. Jodie's era has kind of ended now. We've seen the Fugitive Doctor, for the last time probably on screen now, or at least the last time for the foreseeable future. So yes, it would have been lovely to have this figure, this set, this time last year, or 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever. But it is nevertheless just so exciting to finally have her, full stop. So let's take a proper look at this, at the press release and everything, at the images, and see what we get. So this is a Character Options online exclusive, the next one in the range, following in the footsteps, of the Mechanist Daleks, of the Abominable Snowmen, Second Doctor and TARDIS set, the Warriors of the Deep Silurians, I think came out about 2 years ago, around this time of year. We then of course had the Regeneration set with the 13th Doctor and the 14th Doctor, also the 14th Doctor's Sonic Screwdriver, if you want to count that, from last summer, and now the Fugitive Doctor and TARDIS collector figure set. It's also another Doctor and TARDIS set, so you get the Fugitive Doctor and her TARDIS, which I'll be talking about in more detail in just a moment. But yes, the packaging is the same sort of style that we've seen in the recent B&M Doctor and TARDIS sets, where there aren't any plastic windows, it's all kind of exposed, but that's okay because this is going to be shipped online anyway, so it's not going to get damaged in stores or anything on the shelf. But yeah, it is that kind of open style packaging, the kind of more sort of compact style as well, I suppose, to save on shipping costs and to be more environmentally friendly as well, albeit with one key difference actually that we haven't seen on previous sets like this in the past. So that top left corner there has been kind of sort of dented inwards to make a kind of triangular shape there, with the Doctor Who logo displayed. Not sure whether that's another kind of cost-saving thing, or maybe something to make the set feel a bit more premium, or maybe both. And the style of the packaging is the 60th anniversary style, which, yes, is a bit kind of jarring because, like I say, this is a character from the previous era, sort of by rights. It would have been nice to have her, in 13th Doctor style packaging and in that era and whatever. But we are where we are, it looks very, very nice there, with the kind of the blues and the blacks and the silver, with the Doctor Who 60 years variant of the diamond logo there, on the top as well, and on the front there in the corner. It does make you wonder whether this was meant to come out a bit earlier than it has done, and not in terms of years, but in terms of months. Was this meant to come out in 2023, in the actual 60th anniversary year? There have been rumours about other sort of things like this, like the Fugitive Doctor and Call Me Master Big Finish sets with Sacha Dhawan, which I think, were announced 2 years ago and haven't come out yet. And I think there were rumours that the BBC or the kind of that brand people were sort of holding those things back, certainly until after the 60th specials had aired, so to not have kind of too much stuff going on at once and to not sort of detract from all that stuff, the 14th Doctor, etc. Which on the one hand is understandable, but if that is the case, it's a bit of a shame that it has been pushed back this far. So there are three things that come in this set. First of all, the Fugitive Doctor herself. What a fantastic figure. I'm kind of blown away by this, really. No notes. I think it looks absolutely stunning. I think the likeness and everything, you know, it is perfect. The patterning on her shirt as well, you know, the buttons on her coat and on her waistcoat, I think it looks brilliant. And like I say, it looks like a kind of completely new sculpt, or mostly new sculpt. Maybe there are some reused bits here and there if you take a closer look. But honestly, I think overall this looks fantastic and is definitely one of the best figures we've had in recent years. You know, they've really done Jo Martin and her Doctor justice here. You know, fantastic stuff. We then have the accessory that comes with the Fugitive Doctor, so her Division blaster gun as seen in Fugitive of the Judoon, and I believe the props were also reused in Flux as well for the brief scenes we got with Division soldiers, and I think in Once Upon Time as well. So that is an accessory that has, you know, a lot of leverage in terms of what you can do with it. You can have it with different figures or custom figures of like Division soldiers and stuff. Very, very pleased that they've included this. You know, the Fugitive Doctor doesn't have her own sonic screwdriver or anything like that, so I think it was important to give her an accessory, you know, in some form or other, and this certainly makes sense for something to include. And last but not least, we have the TARDIS. So I believe this was adapted in real life in the show from the TARDIS used by David Bradley in Twice Upon a Time, which was in turn adapted from the Adventure in Space and Time TARDIS, which we have seen in the range a year or two back. You know, we've had so many TARDISes in the range by this point that honestly having another one, you know, it does on the one hand feel a bit like, okay. But this is a nice design, you know, it is different enough to other ones we've seen, other ones that have been released, I think. You know, it's a different colour, like kind of nicer, sort of darker, deeper blue. Has slightly different signage, I believe, as well. The lamp and the kind of top section seems to me to be a reuse of the one used for the Abominable Snowman TARDIS, so there is some parts reuse there, and obviously the whole thing, the shell of it, is that the classic series TARDIS that we have seen time and time again in some form or other. So it's a bit more take it or leave it, I think. You know, it doesn't have lights or sounds this time round, from what I can see, which, you know, is a bit of a disappointment as well for the price that you're paying. But, you know, I think if this was a way to make this figure possible and to make it viable, then, to be honest, I'm not complaining. And it's nice to have a Doctor, you know, with a TARDIS as well, because otherwise this Doctor wouldn't have had a TARDIS to be displayed alongside or whatever. So that's a nice touch. I don't know whether it's, like, completely accurate as well. I'm sure fanatics and stuff will say, oh, the lamp isn't quite right, or the signage, or the windows, or whatever, but honestly, it looks close enough for me, it'll do, and it's a nice thing to have, a nice kind of bonus to the main event. So this set retails at £39.99, which honestly I think is a pretty good price for what you're getting here, to be honest, you know, for a Doctor and her TARDIS. It is a bit of a shame to not have electronics in the TARDIS, you know, to not have light and sound effects, but honestly, I think, you know, like I've said before, if this is the way to make this figure viable and to get it out to us as collectors, honestly, I'm not really complaining. You know, to be honest, I saw the images, I saw the price point, I was like, okay, yeah, you know, that's fair enough. To get a Fugitive Doctor on my shelf, I don't mind paying 40 quid, you know, any more than that, maybe I might have been a bit like, oh, okay, like 50 quid, that's a bit much, but 40 quid I think it is fair enough. I'll leave the link to pre-order this set in the description below. There's no word on dispatch times or delivery dates or anything, but I'm assuming that these are in stock or kind of will imminently be in stock for them to be announcing it now, because that's usually the way with the online exclusives. We also have the annual London Toy Fair happening this week. Perhaps Character will have some Doctor Who stuff on display there as well, though of course whether it will be to the public or not is another matter. But yeah, you know, stay tuned for that, and if there's anything else to talk about, of course I will be talking about it. Let me know your thoughts on the Fugitive Doctor figure and whether you'll be picking it up or not in the comments below. Please like this video if you have enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel too if you're new for more stuff like this in the future. But otherwise, until the next one, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye for now.